Hi guys, and welcome to Katie's Insight, where I give my insight on all kinds of things, whether it's news, politics, current events, entertainment, but most importantly right now, we are on the stimulus train and we are not going to stop because we have news from President Trump. I know. It has been a whirlwind of a week. Guys, I know you guys are all aware of how absolutely insane this week has been. It has just been swings back and forth. It's like ping pong, but they're playing ping pong with themselves on their heads. Like, it doesn't make any sense. None of this makes any sense, but we're going to try to break down for you where we are at because I think we have some good news if you saw the title of this video. So if you guys have been paying attention or if you saw my videos yesterday, if you didn't, you need to go see my videos yesterday so you can know what's going on. I'll have a link in the description, link up here. But President Trump, he did a counteroffer and approved a $1.8 trillion stimulus bill, which is fantastic. And it's what we need because what we want to do is we want to shorten that gap as much as we can right now between where Nancy Pelosi is and President Trump is when it comes to getting something signed. As we know, Pelosi, she had passed something in the House recently. It was a slimmed down HEROES Act. Basically, all they did was shorten the time. So it was 2.2 trillion. We've been between 1.5 to 1.6 of the White House, came up to 1.8 and the president approved it. This is fantastic after a whirlwind week of drama, which we will go over. But the president was just, after he did this, he just did an interview last night with Rush Limbaugh, where he says he wants bigger packages and bigger checks. Honey, if you want bigger packages, why not just meet Pelosi where she is or go even closer? But the good news is we're like 400 billion away. We are getting close. And the closer and closer we get, the closer it is to a stimulus deal. But before we begin, guys, I have a favor to ask you. If you could help me grow this channel, I would so appreciate it. And here's what you could do to help out if you like this video so far. Make sure and give us a big thumbs up, like the video. If you haven't yet, subscribe. And if you've subscribed, make sure and hit that notification bell. That way you can be notified every time I make an upload and you can see what's going on with stimulus or other different things in the world. Also, leave a comment. As many comments as you can leave, every comment is appreciated. And guys, please share this content with as many people as you can. People who you know are suffering, unemployment, waiting for unemployment, waiting for stimulus checks, SB loan and grant issues, can't pay their bills. I've got tons of tools and tons of resources on this channel to be able to help you and the people you know through this difficult time, and I would love the opportunity to do that. Also find me on Facebook and Katie's Insight. Like the page, join the group, Katie's Corner. Will be changed to Katie's Insight soon. Ask all the stimulus questions that you want. We're all in there helping one another. So let's dive in. So this is where we are at. It's been an insane week. The week starts off, as we know, well, it was last week, President Trump got the virus. He was taken to Walter Reed for precaution. He says he was feeling fine, but I guess they're just trying to do some type of precautionary measures. So he goes in there, and then the rumors were he wanted out. He was done. He wanted out. And so they released him as quickly as, I think he was in there like 3 days. They released him, and he started doing some real weird behavior. Now, to the left, everything Trump does is weird and erratic, and let's be honest, he tweets a ton. But he gets out, he starts tweeting an insane amount. While he was in Walter Reed, decided to go take a joyride and wave to everybody from his vehicle, even though the vehicle was sealed up. He did that around the block or something when he's supposed to be quarantined. He comes back, he goes to the Oval Office, takes off his mask and waves at everybody. Just doing some really dumb moves, but then the piece de la resistance this week, what does he do? He goes on Twitter and says he's canceling stimulus talks, which to normal people who don't really understand what's going on and don't follow this, all they see is Trump canceled stimulus. 3 weeks before the election. You guys have seen me pulling out my hair going, Trump, Trump-a-dump-dump, what are you doing? What are you doing? This makes you look horrible right before the election. By the way, I am not pro-Trump. I am not anti-Trump. I'm somebody in the middle who's just weighing the information. I've been seeing Trump take all of these wins right before the election, but here comes all these L's, right? Him alone getting the virus looks like a big L, again, in the eyes of the American people. I'm just saying the way that the American people are going to perceive a situation like this. So, where are we at? Well, Trump got a ton of backlash. The market tanked. It just went south. And so then I did a video, one of my predictions, which was correct, and I said, I note at this point, Trump's personality, he's probably doing this for a negotiating ploy. This is probably a negotiation tactic, and I bet if not sometime later today, then tomorrow, his people and he will clarify. And that's exactly what happened. Then Trump clarified and said, Nancy, we need to sign the checks. You need to get something reasonable. Get it done. So what was happening was Nancy was just not wanting to compromise. Even her compromise is just shortening time frames, where the White House has bent over backwards trying to give them everything that they want, except they don't want to bail out states that are poorly run, which, by the way, some of y'all with states that are just going into apocalyptic oblivion, why do y'all keep having the same people in the government for years? Why y'all keep voting him in? Why is Pelosi still in there when the state of California is consistently on fire and the homeless population has exploded, especially when that's healthy during a pandemic? These are just questions. If you're from California or you're from a state that's going downhill, sound off. Let me know, how are these people continuing to get reelected? So I can understand where he's coming from when he says that, when their side says we don't want to, bail out poorly mismanaged, poorly run states. I get it. But the problem is, everything Trump is doing looks bad right now. So when he goes out there with stimulus, right? When he goes out there and he says, I'm canceling the stimulus talks, it then takes all of the pressure off of the Democrats who've been looking like they're the ones who don't want to do anything, and puts it on Trump, saying you're the reason that stimulus isn't happening. And 3 weeks before the election, that's how it looks to the American public. But then he reclarified, and once again, I knew it. This was a negotiation bully tactic that President Trump is using to strong-arm Nancy and try to call her on her bluff and basically say you need to do these stimulus talks and stimulus checks. So that's a little bit about what's going on there. And then we had Larry Kudlow, we had other people speak up from the White House, and it was interesting because we had the White House communications director came out and said Trump wants a skinny bill, he wants standalone or nothing. And then literally we have like a half hour later, it swings that Trump wants to do a bigger package. Like, it continues to get more and more silly. And Trump yesterday a couple times talked about doing a bigger package, much bigger, grander, bigger than what the Democrats want. And as much as I want to believe him, we've heard this for months. We've heard it for months. It'll tell you what my concern is at this point. I'm kind of concerned the Democrats are just playing around with Trump right now, because they know that he could pull some magic out of his hat, and it's possible he could do some type of executive order. Not saying that's going to happen. I'm just saying they know that it's possible, because he did it last time and everybody said, you can't do that. That's not going to work. That's not constitutional. You'll go to prison. And he did. He passed all those executive orders, which I had called. So I'm kind of wondering, is Nancy just leading them on? Because this is what my assessment of it, and this is what it looks like to a lot of people. It looks like to me, the Democrats, and they've even said this, they've been on record saying this, they don't want stimulus to pass before the election because they don't want anything to look like President Trump is going to get a win. And if it doesn't pass, this is something that Kamala, and this is something that Biden, if he can string together a sentence, even though he did great in the last debate. It's funny, I say he did great. It's not that he did great. It's that he did great for all of our expectations, right? We all thought we were going to see a carrot, a vegetable in a coma, and he was up and with it. More power to him, I guess. But I'm just afraid this is going to end up being fodder before the election if it doesn't get passed for President Trump. And again, I'm not for Trump. I am not anti-Trump. I'm somebody in the middle weighing information. And to a lot of us in the middle, a lot of us aren't necessarily pro-Trump, but we look at this and we're like, who's least likely in the background to be hurting women and children in a way that Hollywood doesn't want to mention? Please infer what I'm saying. And this is how many of us right now are picking our president. And I'm not saying that because that's what I want or that's what I think. I'm telling you the assessment of speaking to people in the middle. Because there seems to be, from the left, or more so the people on the extreme left, they seem to think everybody on the right is a bunch of just gun-toting, Bible-thumping, beer-drinking hicks. And yeah, you got some of that. More power to you if that's who you are. Do what you want to do, boo. However, there is a big silent majority that knows everybody and everything is full of crap, and we're weighing information in the middle in a different way, and we're not buying into narratives. And that's the kind of point of view I try to give you guys on this channel. That's what I try to go after. So I'm kind of at this point wondering, is this even going to happen? Are we going to actually have something happen, or the Democrats stringing Trump along to try to just make it a longer and longer time frame, trying to look like we're going to pass something, and then last minute they don't, so they can use this against him before the election? Trump is really good, though, about throwing out wild cards and spinning things into his favor in a PR and marketing tactic. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. But I want to go ahead and what he said with Rush Limbaugh. So with Rush Limbaugh, he did a 2-hour interview. I am so grateful. Shout out to my guy, because he taught me about Control F, which I was like, or what is it? Command F on my Apple. What's Command F? So, because I was able to get a transcript and I could look up where they talk about stimulus. I remember crying, going, I don't want to double speed. I don't have to double speed and listen to Trump and Limbaugh. I don't want to do that for an hour. Well, it's a 2-hour interview, so if I double speed, it'll be an hour. Guys, part of why I can do quick research is because I talk quickly, I can listen quickly. I can interpret quickly, so I do a lot of double speeding, and I just try to, and I pick up on the things that I need, which is great. In fact, my assistant, I tell her that when she researched for me. I'm like, here's the magic trick to research. Double speed a video, girl. Make sure life, just put it in the background, double speed, makes your life easier. So, but I was able to look up exactly. He talks about stimulus checks. Now, not only does he talk about stimulus checks, he says he wants bigger checks and a bigger package. He also apparently dropped an F-bomb, some F-bombage. I don't know that I've ever heard him curse. By the way, I'm not saying he doesn't. I'm sure that he does. I've just never heard it myself. That's all I'm trying to say. I don't ever hear him curse, but he actually dropped an F when it came to talking about Iran. I didn't listen to it. I'm not going to play it because we are a clean channel. Gosh darn it. Y'all don't even know. In my private life, I am such a sailor. I have a rule about it, though. I have a rule about saying those certain words. In fact, I wrote a whole college paper. I got like a darn near, I almost did it, a darn near perfect grade on. I call it, for words like that, the EEC rule. I do that for entertainment, emphasis, and creative purposes only, and never for lack thereof or filler. So I try to get creative with it, but y'all don't even know me and my sailor, my alter ego sailor in my real life. But we got to keep this clean because YouTube's being YouTube, and I guess more power to them because they're a privately held company and they can. But the censorship is getting scary. All right, so let's get into this. Let's see exactly what is going on. So y'all know me, I have my article of information pulled up. Let's go over this. This will give you a little overview too of exactly where we're at with stimulus talks from Bloomberg.com. It says Trump says he now wants bigger stimulus than Democrats are offering. Y'all, I don't care if you love him or hate him. He acts ridiculous. I'm sorry, he's ridiculous sometimes. Can we call a spade a spade? Sometimes he's ridiculous. So here we go. President Donald Trump said he wants even bigger stimulus than what Democrats have offered so far. Yet another turnabout in his position, and one that seemed to undercut his own negotiators. I would like to see a bigger stimulus package, frankly, than either the Democrats or the Republicans are offering, Trump said on Rush Limbaugh's radio program, saying he's going in the exact opposite direction from his earlier stance. Shortly after, the White House Communications Director, Alyssa Farah, told reporters the administration wants a package below $2 trillion, sowing further confusion. Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin headed into talks with House Speaker Nancy Pelosi on Friday, carrying a White House offer of $1.8 trillion for economic stimulus, according to people familiar with the matter. The two spoke for about 30 minutes, and Mnuchin's proposal attempted to address some of the concerns Democrats have. Pelosi spokesman Drew Hamill said on Twitter, Pelosi has proposed a $2.2 trillion plan, down from the $3.4 trillion package the House passed in May. But the differences between the two sides involve more than money. They also differ on how it should be spent. Strategic plan. The speaker in Friday's conversation pressed the administration to include language in the bill on developing a strategic plan to combat the virus. There has been resistance to doing this from the White House, which has claimed it has such a plan already. Another hurdle is that many Republicans in Congress have said they would oppose any plan approaching the $2 trillion mark. But Trump on Friday indicated he wasn't concerned about that. I'm telling you something I don't tell anybody else, because maybe it helps or maybe it hurts negotiations, Trump told Limbaugh. I would like to see a bigger package. Why would you admit, I'm going to tell you something I don't tell anybody else because it could hurt. You know the media is the media is specifically used for negotiation tactics like you just did on Twitter, like Nancy has been doing when she does daily press briefings and all of these interviews. So when you say that, why on earth would you even tell, again, just stuff that looks stupid, right? Okay. It's an about face by Trump, who said Tuesday he was pulling out of the pandemic relief talks. It comes with the election 3 weeks away and polls showing him trailing Democrat Joe Biden. Political need. His actions demonstrate that politically he needs a deal, according to one Senate GOP aide. The aide said that if Trump can get an agreement for less than $2 trillion, it would be hard for Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell not to put it up to a vote. But the president's statement could also harden Pelosi's demand for bigger stimulus. Trump himself potentially could have talks with lawmakers today, Farah said, without specifying who he might speak with. Stocks had climbed to session highs on Friday on the first reports of the White House upping its offer on the virus relief, but failed to gain further steam from Trump's later twist. The S&P 500 index was up 0.9% as of 3:21 p.m. yesterday. There is still skepticism about whether a deal can be cut and transformed into legislation before Election Day. Time presses. McConnell said earlier Friday that there's probably not enough time before the election to bridge the vast differences on the new stimulus relief package. I believe that we do need another rescue package, but the proximity to the election and the differences of opinions about what is needed are pretty vast, McConnell said at an event in his home state of Kentucky. McConnell later told reporters that even if an agreement on stimulus is reached, his first priority is securing Senate confirmation of Trump's nominee for the Supreme Court. Hearings for Amy Coney Barrett are scheduled to begin Monday with final Senate vote as soon as the week of October 26th. If Pelosi and Mnuchin get an agreement, Congress would then likely need 2 weeks or more to draft legislation text and approve it in the House and Senate. The Senate is on recess until October 19th, and the House until mid-November, but lawmakers have been told they can be called back within 24 hours' notice to vote on any stimulus deal. If it did come to a vote, Republican lawmakers may be a major obstacle. McConnell has said that there are members of his Senate GOP majority who think the government has already provided enough stimulus. House Republican leader Kevin McCarthy has also said his caucus members are skeptical of a large package. We'd have to see what's in it, but I think it's difficult, he said last month. In his Friday remarks, McConnell specifically highlighted the narrowly targeted GOP package of about $500 billion the Democrats blocked as insufficient last month. For vulnerable Republican lawmakers, a deal appears to be increasingly important, with the economy already showing signs of the recovery slowing. Job growth in September was the weakest since the rebound began in May, a report showed Friday. Senator Joni Ernst, running behind her Democratic challenger in Iowa, tweeted that she had spoken with Trump and told him Iowans need additional virus relief. Pelosi sent a letter to House Democrats Friday morning criticizing Trump for not taking the pandemic seriously enough. The administration does not share the priority of crushing the virus, just to crush it. The president does not have the capacity, leadership, or plan for testing, tracing, and isolation that is needed, Pelosi wrote. Instead, Trump's delay, denial, distortion of reality, and disdain for science has exacted a deadly and preventable human toll. The two sides are divided on the issue of how much money to provide state and local governments, language restricting Trump's ability to divert anti-virus health care spending, and the level and length of supplemental unemployment benefits. Dozens of smaller issues, such as funding for election security and the postal service also remain. The negotiations are proceeding against a frenzied backdrop, with the president recuperating from the virus and the final stretch of the election campaign underway. Pelosi and Trump publicly questioned each other's ability to perform their jobs on Thursday. We're going to get into all that too. In fact, I'm going to try to do a comprehensive video today about exactly what's going on with the 25th Amendment. This is an amendment that Pelosi is trying to get passed. Basically, it's an amendment for them to see that Trump is crazy. It is literally a bill for Trump's craziness, as she says, but he calls her Crazy Nancy. We're going to have a fun video later about this. But I wanted to show you guys that is exactly where we're at when it comes to the stimulus talks. Now, I want to go over what he said with Limbaugh. So I have the actual clip, and then we're going to read it, and we're going to dissect it as well. I also have a fun little surprise at the end. Trump actually addresses his ego. Crazy. He addresses his ego, which I want to go over because basically the question was brought up, why do you have such a big ego? All right, let's go ahead and let's hear what he has to say.
Let me tell you, if he got in, this country is going to go to like you've never seen, and you'll end up in a depression, the likes of which you haven't seen since 1929.
Okay, now, people are asking, when you say that, why would they want this? Why would the Democrats want to take this country into a recession and have it be so bad economically? Why would they want to do that?
Your taxes are going up, your regulations. You know, I did, in the biggest tax cuts in history, bigger than Reagan's tax cuts, I did something that was more important. I cut regulations that you couldn't build a highway in less than 10 years. I mean, it would take you 10 years to get approvals, and some much longer than that. One was 21 years, and they ended up not getting it. You couldn't get anything done. And I cut regulations to a level that now you can get things done or not done in 1 year. In other words, it may get disapproved because it's not safe or environmentally good or, a lot of good reasons.
Right.
But I cut regulations from 19 years to 1 year. I mean, you wouldn't even believe it. People had to go through the same agency 14 different times.
Right, and once again, you have to be the one to tell the story.
I have to be the one. Yeah, nobody else seems to be able to tell it properly.
By the way, what's the status of the stimulus package now, the COVID stimulus package?
So I'd like to see it happen because it wasn't, look, a lot of people are being hurt because of China. It wasn't these people's fault. I would like to see a bigger stimulus package, frankly, than either the Democrats or the Republicans are offering. I'm going in the exact opposite now, okay? I mean, I'm telling you this. I'm telling you something I don't tell anybody else because maybe it helps or maybe it hurts negotiations. I would like to see a bigger package. I'd like to see money going to people. It was not their fault that China sent in the plague. It wasn't their fault. And China's going to pay a big price. China was going to catch us in 2019. If you look back 15, 20 years ago, everybody said by 2019, China will beat us. I was beating them so badly. We were doubling up. We were doing great until the plague came in, and we're still beating them badly. We'll still be. If you have a smart guy at top, you'll always beat them. They're paying us billions and billions of dollars in tariffs. People don't realize when I made the deal, they're paying billions of dollars. I gave
no, they don't, and people don't know what that means. They don't know. They don't. How does that benefit them? That China's paying billions and billions in tariffs.
Billions of dollars. Well,
let's break it down. Okay, so let's go over exactly what he said about stimulus. So then the president says, "But I cut regulations from 19 years to 1 year. I mean, you wouldn't even believe it. People had to go through the same agency 14 different times." Rush says, "Right. Once again, you have to be the one to tell the story." The president says, "I have to be the one, yeah. Nobody else seems to be able to tell it properly." He's referring to how the media reports on him. We're going to go into that in just a second. Rush says, "By the way, what's the status of the stimulus package now?" And he says, the president, "So I'd like to see it happen because it wasn't, look, a lot of people are being hurt by China." It's so funny how he said China. I always laugh whenever I hear him or even just hear somebody allude to Trump saying China. It wasn't these people's fault. I would like to see a bigger stimulus package, frankly, than either the Democrats or the Republicans are offering. I'm going the exact opposite now, okay? I mean, I'm telling you this. I'm telling you something I don't tell anybody else because maybe it helps or maybe it hurts negotiations. Again, boo-boo. Why would you do that? Why? I don't know. I don't trust any of these people. I would like to see a bigger package. I'd like to see more money going to people. It was not their fault. It was China that sent the illness. It wasn't their fault. And China's going to pay a big price. China was going to catch us in 2019. If you look back 15, 20 years ago, everybody said by 2018, China will beat us. And actually, that is correct. Do y'all remember that? Even in the early 2000s, do you remember there's an episode of The Office where they talk about that? Where I think it was Michael had gone into, by the way, I'm starting to fan of The Office. Huge fans in this home. So please, if you ever want to quote The Office, please sound off in the comments. It will always make me and my assistant's day because she loves The Office too. But in regards to The Office, Michael, I think, had gone to the dentist or something, and he had read an article about how China's going to overtake us. And this had to have been 2006 maybe, 05, 06, right? Because that was in the early-ish to mid-ish 2000s and a little bit upwards. So they had a whole episode about this, but we had been hearing, I remember hearing in high school at some point China was going to overtake us with their technology, with their, with their factories, with all of these different areas. So it's very interesting that he brought that up because it's something that, quite frankly, I haven't thought about in a while. But he says, everybody said by 2019, China will beat us. I was beating them so badly. Again, just so exaggerated. I was beating them so badly. We were doubling up. We were doing great until the illness came. And we're still beating them badly. We'll still be. if you have a smart guy atop, you'll always beat him. You know, they're paying us billions and billions of dollars in tariffs. People don't realize when I made the deal, they're paying billions. I gave a lot of. Rush says people don't know what that means. How does it benefit them that China is paying billions and billions of? And he says billions and billions. Well, they devalue their currency and make it impossible to compete because they devalue their currency. You know, they're currency manipulators. So I'm not going to go into all of that exactly, but this is what he said about stimulus. So once again, we have Trump saying he wants bigger stimulus, bigger checks. Now, there could be a couple things. Is that because his plan is maybe at the last minute, he's going to try to do executive orders, and he is going to do bigger stimulus checks to make him come out ahead right before the election? Is this that he is doing damage control from his tweets that he did earlier this week about him canceling stimulus talks? So it went from canceling stimulus talks to only standalone bills to we'll do a skinny bill to no, now I only have a big bill to now I want it bigger. So, which flavor of Trump are we getting? I could see two possible paths in this situation. I could see this being damage control. But more than anything, I'm wondering if Trump realizes, and I'm sure he's aware, that Nancy may just be stringing them along, and he may have a whole plan in the background like he did last time with executive orders that we are not aware of, and that he might pass stimulus checks before the election, because even though at this point, Americans are not going to get those checks into their hands before the election, most likely. The fact that he would pass it, if he passed something even bigger than what's talked about, wins, I think that would clinch the election for him. And I don't know why he's not playing that card unless he's trying to do things in a very strategic manner right now. Or there's also the possibility the virus has kind of knocked him off his rocker. And I'm not trying to be Nancy Pelosi and say he's unfit. I just know what illness can do to you mentally and emotionally, especially when you get something like that. That's scary. So, I don't know. I love people saying, well, he's making bad decisions because steroids. And I'm like, I've been on steroids. In fact, I think I've been on the same steroids because it's DEXA something. I don't have to look it up on my records. But, when I've had to go to the ER for lung issues, which I had a lot of, not as much this year, but over the last couple of years, it got very, very intense. I believe they gave me dexamethasone. I think. But it was Deca something. Decadron? Deca something, Deca, I forget. But I've been on tons of steroids because of my lungs. And we're talking 20 milligrams. It's, no more than 30 because my body literally can't handle it. But I just keep laughing when I hear that because I'm like, it'll give you more energy, sure. It's going to, help give you more energy, which I always have to be careful of because I'll overdo, trying to clean the house in ways I shouldn't because I'm still rebuilding my health. But I always look at that and kind of laugh because I'm like, but it's not going to give you hallucinations and make you go insane, unless it was unless he was doing a ton of them, right? And I would have to know what milligrams he's on. But then again, this is a bigger dude. He's taller than me. I don't know how medicine's going to affect him. Everything affects everybody differently. You could take 5 milligrams of a muscle relaxer, nothing happens. I'm in the hospital fighting for my life with my heart because I have my conditions. My body is very sensitive to medication. It's just how it rolls. Everybody's bodies are different. So I wanted to go over this, but then there's one more thing that I thought was absolutely hilarious that they went over. So Rush Limbaugh actually asked Trump about his ego. Please stay tuned to listen to this because I thought this was hilarious. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to play the clip so you guys can hear it for yourself.
The thing I wanted to, Mr. President, you have been forced because of media coverage to tout your own successes. You have been forced to tell, like you just did in the past 5 minutes here. And it rubs some people the wrong way. They think you're bragging. They think that you're insecure, that you need to constantly. Would you explain to people why you find it necessary to tout your successes rather than let somebody in the White House or a PR type operation do it for you? Why do you find it necessary to do it yourself?
Well, first of all, it's such a great question, and most people can't understand it. As an example, I was nominated for 2 Nobel Peace Prizes.
Three now. Some guy from Italy has nominated you.
Oh, that's good. Well, it won't be written about. When Obama got it, it was the biggest story. I remember very well. He didn't even know why he got it. Got it almost.
And he got his on the come. He got his on the come. He hadn't even done anything yet.
That's right. He didn't know. He couldn't explain why he got it, but I can. And one is Middle East peace without any blood, okay? And by the way, countries are lining up. The other is, if you look at Kosovo and Serbia, they've been killing each other forever. And I got them to be peace and, good stuff. And then I just heard about the third. Nobody even, it wasn't even on the news, okay? I joke about it in speeches sometimes. I'll joke about it. I tell my wife, let's watch tonight. It'll be a wonderful night. And they don't even cover it. They don't cover any good stuff with me. Anything that's good, they don't cover. Anything that's okay or bad. I mean, then bad, they make it sound like, like let's do the electric chair thing.
All right, so if we want to know why Trump's ego comes across so big and why he's so braggadocious on himself, I want to go into this. So he says, so Rush says, well, that's another thing I wanted to mention. Mr. President, you have been forced because of the media coverage to tout your own success. And that's the thing. We always hear Trump, biggest, greatest, grand, and he is always talking himself up. Now, I can say, just being from the perspective of a business person, you always are going to try to talk yourself up. You're always trying to sell something or even sell yourself, your services, who you are. So I think that's just part of his personality in regards to him being a businessman. But I thought it was interesting that they brought it up. Let's continue. And the president says, true. Rush says, you've been forced to tell them, like you just did in the past 5 minutes here. And it rubs some people the wrong way. They think you're bragging. And he says, right. Rush says they think you're insecure. The president chuckles and says, yeah. Rush says that you need to constantly, and he's alluding to constantly talk yourself up. Would you explain to people how you find it necessary to tout your success rather than have somebody in the White House or PR type or operation do it for you? Why do you find it necessary to do this to yourself? I thought this was a brilliant question because so many people, complain and whine about how he comes across in his ego, but I've never really heard anybody ask him about this. Maybe it's out there. Maybe I just haven't seen it. I'm just saying I haven't heard it. The president says, well, first of all, such a great question, and most people can't understand it. As an example, I was nominated for 2 Nobel Peace Prizes, 1 for, and Rush says 3 now. The president says, okay. Rush says, some guy from Italy has nominated you. The president, oh, that's good. It won't be written about. When Obama got it, it was the biggest story. I remember very well. He didn't even know why he got it. Rush says, he got his on the come. And president says, right. Rush says, he got his on the come. He hadn't even done anything yet. The president says, that's right. He didn't know why. He can't explain why he got it, but I can. And one is the Middle East peace without any blood, okay? And by the way, countries are lining up. The other is, if you look at Kosovo and Serbia, they're killing each other. They've been killing each other forever. And I got them to be peaceful and, good stuff. And then I just heard about the third. This wasn't even on the news, okay? I joke about it in speeches sometimes. I'll joke about it and say, tell my wife, let's watch tonight. It'll be a wonderful night tonight on the television. And they don't even cover it. They don't cover any good stuff with me. Anything that's good, they don't cover. Anything that's okay or bad, bad. They make it sound like, like it's the electric chair thing. And guys, I'm going to be honest with you. I am going to completely agree with him here. Now, whether or not he's really a braggadocious person, I don't really know because I've been studying him per the election and per stimulus, but I haven't super studied his personality in the past before he got into politics like this, right? I have to really, and by the way, I'm not saying he is or isn't. I'm just literally saying I don't know. But I can say that it makes sense, and I've said this so many times, and that part of the battle that people like me, who are the silent majority in the middle, have is that we see nonstop negative coverage about Trump. I've joked and I've said he could cure cancer, and they're going to turn around and say it's poison. And it's funny because I'm like, I'm not saying this is the case, but I'm wondering, what happens if he's right that they actually have really good cures for this virus, and they're trying to act like he's demonic? I'm not saying that's the case. It's too soon to know. I'm not in laboratories looking at this stuff. I don't know what's going on. And in fact, we can't really know. We have to trust our sources in the media, and who can trust the media at this point? You can't. So you don't really know what's going on. So when we know that there's this big entity, when big media is always lying to us, and we see non-stop brainwashing about how awful Trump is, to people like me, it looks like brainwashing. Because even when he does something good, it's bad. They even tried to make the fact that he was nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize a horrible thing. They tried to attack the people who had nominated him, which I was like, good gravy. And by the way, I'm not saying anything about those people because, again, I don't know them. But it's like Trump can do nothing right. And to people like me, when you can't trust the media, which I would say 80% of Americans know that at this point, we look at it and we go, and we don't trust anything now. At this point, it's the point when I hear something negative about Trump, I don't trust it. And I immediately think it's probably BS. Not because I'm pro-Trump, because I'm anti-media, and the media's always lying. So when I hear nothing but negative stories, and a lot of them turn out to not be true, they've intentionally taken context out, right? They've taken out of context. People like me, we just sit there and go, that's interesting. we don't trust it. And then what you have is the people in the middle go, well, if it's between the old regime of politics that we know is awful and Biden, who has repeatedly in his past done and said really offensive things to minorities that the left just seems to not want to talk about, right? Like, that drives me nuts. When you know how awful he is, and you know the things that the big politicians do behind the scenes when it comes to women and children, and then there's Trump, let's go with the wild card. Not because we think he's the best choice, not because he's perfect, and not because we idealize him, but because given the two, we're like, well, let's try this, because we don't know what else is going to work, and apparently our hands are tied. And that's how it's looked at, and that's what I wanted to break down for you guys. But I wanted to go over this to let you know where we are with negotiations and what's going on with what Trump is saying. Oh, we're going to get bigger stimulus checks? It would be fantastic. I have some inside details on what is coming on the pipeline, and actually is being talked about. You guys may be getting more money for stimulus. Stay tuned for the other videos later today to find all that information out. Okay, guys, if you like this video, please help me out. Give me a big thumbs up, like the video, subscribe, hit notifications so you can be notified daily what is coming to the pipeline for you and your stimulus money. Also, sound off in the comments. I want to know what you guys think. What do you think about all of this? Let me know. The more comments you leave, the better. Tell me your thoughts. And guys, please share this content with as many people as you know they're struggling right now. People who are on unemployment, waiting for stimulus checks, SB loan and grant issues, and everything in between. I would love to know everything you guys think, and I would love to help as many people as possible during this time. So please share this content. And guys, check me out. Katie's Insight, like the page. Katie's Corner, join the group. Will be changed to Katie's Insight. If you see this video later, you're like, what happened to the group? So either look up Katie's Corner or Katie's Insight. You can go in there, ask all the stimulus questions you want. We would love to help you out during this time. Okay, guys, I'm going to end this video here for now. This has been Katie, and thank you so much for listening to my insight on things. And until the next video, take care. Blessings, and we'll see you guys soon. Bye.